I always start the mentorship with these two topics because I think that it's actually like the key to the kingdom. Healing the nervous system in any patient, whatever they're there for, whether it's back pain, infertility, endometriosis, migraines, that's not to say that there's not a physiological process that also needs to be healed, but what's always behind it is the nervous system. Somatized emotion, stress-induced illness is a real thing. And the illness that it creates is also a real thing. So we as practitioners have the ability to back up enough to actually treat what is underlying. And I'm starting to like really hate the word term root cause because I feel like it's been like co-opted by the wellness industry as a way to sell supplements. But what we're talking about is what is the original injury to this individual and how did that dysregulate their nervous system? And how can we help re-regulate the nervous system, which then in turn will allow for the rest of the body to resume a more homeostatic way of functioning because it's not constantly being whipped around by a nervous system that is not regulated, that is just flipping from one element, from fight or flight, and then maybe briefly touching in on relaxing while they're asleep, and then back to fight or flight. And that over time has a huge impact. And it has a profound impact on the fertility process because no matter what, it is stressful. It can be minorly stressful and it can go all the way to like significant trauma. And so figuring out where your patient falls on that spectrum is also part of the work that we're doing. So then the big question is always, does infertility cause stress or does stress cause infertility? And it is maybe it's both, I would say. But we have to look at this. What is the psychological impact of infertility and the stress that it creates? So, research from the Harvard Mind Body Institute has shown that women with infertility experience the same level of depression and anxiety as women with metastatic cancer, with heart disease, or who have an HIV positive status. So we're talking about a level of stress that is aligned with having a terminal illness with a significant physical and emotional burden and the threat of death. We're talking about a life-threatening disease condition affecting vital organ function and the threat of death. And HIV positive status, a chronic condition with social stigma and long-term health implications, and also the threat of death. And why I keep saying that is not because fertility patients have the threat of death, but that the stress that they're feeling is on par with that. And the reason why is, I believe, because our primal brain only has two imperatives. One is survival and the other is procreation. So when the procreation imperative is threatened in an individual who wants that to happen, it is as intense as being threatened with the loss of one's life. So this is not a minor thing. This is the thing that is consuming most of our patients who've been on any type of a protracted fertility journey. So what is stress? Stress is a primal threat response. We do not control it. It is a real or perceived threat, and that's the key word there, perceived, to life or safety that triggers the primal brain to prepare the body to respond to danger. It gives us this enhanced performance capability. Our concentration becomes heightened, the reaction time increases, strength and agility increase. This is the mom lifting the baby off the car in an emergency, like finding superhuman strength to cope with this threat. It initiates a survival mechanism. So it provides the strength and speed to ward off an attack and to flee, to run faster than you ever have, to make split-second decisions in ways that you would not normally make in your typical, state of existence. And then when the stressor ends, when you escape the lion, when the baby is safe, when the whatever the thing is, we're meant to physiologically then return to a state of homeostasis. So that's when the stressor subsides. Hormone signals from the adrenal glands are supposed to deactivate the stress response. And then the body returns to a homeostatic functioning. When the brain experiences this stressor, there's a series of activations that happen in a split second. So the first thing is a signal from the hypothalamus. A stressor signals the hypothalamus to release corticotropin releasing hormone to the pituitary gland. It also simultaneously triggers the activation of the sympathetic nervous system, prompting the release of adrenaline. And that is a direct nerve to gland pathway, meaning the signal to release adrenaline is traveling at the speed of light through the sympathetic nerve fibers. It is not going through the two-step process of hypothalamus to pituitary to release a hormone. So that's the thing that happens instantly. That's the thing that happens if you're, I'm sure most of the females in this group will be able to identify with this. You're walking down the street by yourself at night and you sense somebody might be following you, or you get a vibe that something's off. That is the hypothalamic signal sending adrenaline right to your adrenals before you can even think twice. Like it happens in a nanosecond. But then the pituitary response also kicks in, and that happens very, very quickly as well, where the then signals the gland to release adrenocorticotropic hormone as a signal to the adrenal glands. That then activates the adrenals to release more adrenaline, cortisol, and other catecholamines, other stress hormones. And then the fight or flight response ensues, and we can do all the crazy things. And then recovery begins when the threat subsides. At that point, the adrenal gland sends signals back to the brain, and physiological function ideally returns to normal. We're no longer under this stressor.